Assalamualaikum. Alright, in this video I'm gonna show you the differential and approximation, which is one of the application of the derivatives or differentiation. So firstly, you have to know that the formula for the differential approximation in this formula is given by, alright, so suppose we have this fx, which is given by fx naught plus delta x, where delta x is the small change of the x naught, right? So we'll assume the new value is fx, so it is, please take note that it is approximately, right? It's not equal, you know, it's totally equal, but it is approximate to the fx naught plus f prime x naught delta x. So you have to memorize this formula because we'll be using quite a lot. So I guess you just have to start memorizing from this part only. Alright, so fx is approximate to fx naught plus f prime x naught delta x. Alright, so maybe you are wondering what is x, what is x naught, what is delta x. Alright, so to illustrate this, I'll show you example 2 first. Alright, so suppose we have this. Alright, so the question asks us to use the differentials to estimate this value. All right, so we know that if we press our calculator, all right, so suppose we so to do this you have to have the calculator. So to calculate that, all right, cube root of 7.96, so using your calculator will give you 1.99666 and so on. All right, and we know that if we have something like nearest, all right, something nearest to that 7.96 is actually 8. Okay, so 8 is cube root 8 will be 2. All right, so we, all right, so now we have to decide here. All right, so that initially it is 2. All right, this is actually sorry, not 2. All right, so this one is, right, so this is the initial value, which is, this is actually x naught. All right, and this is the new value, which is x. Okay, so all right, so firstly we have to this, all right, so I determine, all right, so that one, the x is the one given in the function, where that one is 7.96, so something nearest to that 7.96 will be 8 here, so x naught is actually 8. And we know that, all right, so we have to find the delta x first. All right, so delta x is actually given by x minus x naught. That is the formula. You have to memorize that x minus x naught. So in this case, 7.96 minus 8 will get negative 0.04. Okay, that one is delta x, which is the small change of the value x naught. All right, so we note that from the formula that we have we had in the beginning of the video just now, we have that, all right, fx naught plus delta x. All right, this is actually equal to fx. So in this case, all right, we note that fx naught, all right, x naught is actually 8. All right, 8 plus that delta x is given by this, plus negative 0.04, so we get fx. So fx, all right, if you calculate this part using the calculator, so actually it will get 7.96, which is given by this x. So this is fx, this is x, all right. So now to use the formula for differentials, which is given by, all right, this is approximate to, all right, so you just memorize this, f of x naught plus f prime of x naught delta x. Okay, so to do this you have to take out the fx and also fx naught. In this case, all right, so fx is actually, all right, so this part, this one already become x, so we'll have cube root of x, or we can write it as x to the power of 1 over 3. Yes, because x is 7.96. 7.96 we say here, so that part will be x. Okay, 7.96 will be substituted with x. So now we'll have to, because we want to find the what we call fx naught here. All right, we want to use this fx naught, so now we'll have to find the fx naught. Fx naught, x naught is actually 8. Alright, so we'll substitute with 8. So the value of x will be substituted with 8. Cube root of 8 will get 2. Okay, so now we'll have to find the differentiation of this fx. So we'll have to find f prime of x. So which is given by, alright, so 1 over 3, x to the power of negative 2 over 3. So this is actually 1 over 3 cube root of x, alright, cube root of x to the power of 2 there. So now we have to use the f prime x naught. So we'll have to find the f prime x naught. So f prime of x naught, meaning to say that x naught is 8, we'll have to substitute the value of x in this function with 8. Alright, so we'll have something like 1 over 3, alright, 8, alright, so cube root of 8 will be 2, so 2 to the power of 2, alright, so we'll get 1 over 12, alright. So we already have all these values, so we can substitute into this formula. So that one is approximate, so this part is actually equal to, alright, so fx naught is here. Okay, I'm highlighting in blue color. So this is fx naught. You substitute with 2, you plus with the f prime of x naught is actually this 1 over 12. So you write 1 over 12. And then you want this part which is given, alright, you want this part delta x. So that delta x is actually given by this negative 0.04. So substitute into the formula, negative 0.04. Alright, so you press your calculator. Alright, so we'll have something like 2 plus 1 over 12 multiplied by negative 0.04. So we'll get, alright, so read the questions. They ask you to find in 4 decimal places. So set your calculator into 4 decimal places. We get 1.9967. So that is your, you're trying to find the approximate of this function, meaning to say that you are trying to find the approximate of this value using this formula. You get 1.9976, which is almost similar to this one, which is in the beginning just now we have already calculated using the calculator. Okay, so that is what differentials and approximation actually is. Okay, so you just have to know the formula. All right, so let's look at question number 1. Let's get back here. We are already given with fx. All right, so sometimes the question already give us this fx, so we just, all right, so initial, all right, so we're given with the fx, so you just write the fx is actually, all right, I'm writing in form like in front of this so that it's easier for me to differentiate. So now we have to differentiate this. All right, let me differentiate this first. So I will get 1 over 2, and then I'll differentiate 4x squared minus 7 to the power of negative 1 over 2. And then differentiate the one in the bracket, we'll get 8x. Alright, so simplifying this, we'll get 4x over, okay, 4x squared minus 7. I'll get something like this. Right, this one is for f prime x, because we know that in the formula we'll have to use the f prime x naught. So now we'll have to decide what is x and what is x naught. All right, so look at this value. So this is actually fx. Because this is fx, meaning to say that this is x. All right, so we'll have to decide that the x is actually given by, all right, I'm writing over here. The x is actually given by 2.01, and of course x naught is actually 2, because the nearest whole number to this value is actually 2. Right, so you will have 2 as the x naught. So remember also we'll have to find the delta x, which is given by x minus x naught. So in this case 2.01 minus 2, so we'll get 0.01. all right. So we know that later in the formula we'll have to substitute with the value of fx naught and also f prime x naught. So we'll have to find the fx naught, meaning to say that we'll have to substitute the value of 2 inside this function. All right, so we'll have something like, all right, 4 multiplied by 2 squared minus 7. All right, so we'll get 4 multiplied by 4, 4 multiplied by 4, okay, minus 7. So we'll get 9. Square root 9 is actually 3. All right, that one is for fx naught, and we'll have to find the f prime x naught. In this case, we'll get f prime x naught is actually, all right, we're going to substitute this with the value of 2. So we'll have 4 multiplied by 2 over, all right, the whole thing, 4 multiplied by 2 square minus 7. So we'll get, all right, that one will get 8 over 3. Okay, so we already have this, what we call fx naught, all right, f prime x naught. So we'll have delta x. We can substitute into the formula, where the formula is given by, all right, so fx is approximate to the fx naught plus delta x, plus f prime x naught delta x, right? So we'll have something like, right, fx naught is given by 3 plus f prime x naught is given by 8 over 3, and then we'll multiply with 0.01. Sorry, delta x is actually 0.01 given here, right? So press your calculator, you'll get 3 plus 8 over 3 multiplied by 0.01. So we'll have something like, all right, the value is, okay, we read the questions. We want it in 3 decimal places, so it should be surrounded of the 3 decimal places. So we'll get 3.027. So that's the final answer for this one. So let's just recap this one. So first step, we'll have to find fx, right? So I'm writing in, all right, so this is your first step. Step 1, we'll have to find fx, and then we'll have to find the f prime x, and then we also have to determine the value of x naught, and also delta x, and then we substitute with the value of x naught into f and also f prime, all right, and then we'll have to use the formula. We just have 6 steps here. Just follow these 6 steps, inshallah you can do it. All right, let's move to question number 3. Use differentials to estimate this. All right, so what is the nearest number here is actually, all right, so it's actually 64, all right, because we'll get cube root of 64, we'll get 4, and square root of 64 will get 8, right, in this case. So first step, okay, first step, determine what is fx. So fx is actually given by, all right, so the function is, all right, we assume this is x, all right, so we'll have something like cube root of x plus 1 over square root of x, or we can write it in form like this, plus x to the power of, sorry, that one of 1 over 3 negative 1 over 2, right, that one is for fx. So next step, all right, so we'll have to differentiate that fx, or f prime x. We'll have something like, all right, differentiating this, we'll get 1 over 3 x to the power of negative 2 over 3 minus 1 over 2 x to the power of negative 3 over 2, all right. So we can simplify this form into something like 1 over 3, all right, cube root of x to the power of 2 minus 1 over 2 square root of x to the power of 3. Okay, so we'll have something like this. So we know that we have to define and we have to decide what the value of x is. So in this case, x is this one. So x is actually given by 633.99, and we know that x naught is actually the nearest number to this one is of course 64. And we have to find the delta x. So in this case, delta x given by, we write the formula first, x minus x naught. So we'll have something like 633.99 minus 64. So the answer will be negative 0.01. All right. So now, we know that in the formula, we'll have to use the value of, all right, write the formula first. So f of x is approximate to the f of x naught plus f prime of x naught delta x, all right. So we have to use the formula of the value of fx naught and also f prime of x naught. So we have to substitute the value of x naught into the formula of these two formula. Okay, so we'll have something like, right, so we want to find the fx naught. So fx naught is actually given by cube root of 64 plus 1 over square root of 64. So we'll have something like, alright, cube root of 64 plus 1 over square root of 64. I'll have something like 33 over 8, alright? So we also have to find the f prime of x naught. Sorry. F prime of x naught in this case. Alright, so we are substituting the value of what we call 64 into this formula. So we'll have something like, okay, minus 1 over 2, 64 to the power of 3. Alright, so calculating this using a calculator, alright, 64 to the power of 2. Right, we'll get 1 over 48 minus 2 square root 64 to the power of 3, and then 1. Right, we'll have 1 over 1024. So calculating this, 1 over 48 minus 1 over, so we'll get 61 over 3072. Alright, so substituting these, alright, into the formula, so we'll have something like this is equal to, alright, fx naught is given here, so it's 33 over 8 plus f prime of x naught is given here, 61 over 3072, and then we'll have to multiply with the delta x, which is given here, negative 0.01. Alright, so pressing your calculator, 33 over 8 plus 61 over 3072, multiply with the negative 0.01, and then we'll get the final answer as 4.1. Alright, look at the equation. They ask you to convert into 3 decimal places. 1, 2, 5. Alright, that's the final answer. So to check whether your answer is true or not, is correct or not, alright, so 4.125, you try to press this using calculator. So we are pressing 63.9 cube root of 6.9 plus 1 over square root of 63.99. So if you use your calculator, alright, using your calculator, alright, we'll get 4.1248, alright, which is close to this one, alright, so that means it's correct. Okay, it's not it must not exactly be exactly the same, but it must be somewhere close, something like that. Alright, so let's move to question number 4. So we have to use differentials to estimate this sign. Alright, this is sign, not sin dosa. Alright, so we know that the function is not given here, so we'll have to write the function. So firstly, we have to decide that the function fx is actually given by, alright, so if you see this, alright, so of course, right, most of the students get confused how to choose this, whether this is x or this is the whole thing is x. Alright, so it's actually in this case that one is the whole thing is x, so that's easy for you to what do we call that, to differentiate this. Right, because, alright, so in this case, we are choosing the x is actually, right, we assume the whole thing here to become x. So we'll get pi over 5 plus 0.01. So of course, x naught is the value which is nearest to this, of course, pi over 5. So that our delta x will be x minus x naught, which is given by pi over 5 plus 0.01 minus the pi over 5. So you'll get delta x is actually 0.01, which is positive. Right, so we note that we have to find the fx and also f prime x. Okay, f prime x is actually given by the value of differentiating sign. We'll get cos of x. Alright, so firstly, we'll have to write the formula first. Okay, so I'm writing the formula for fx is approximate to f of x naught plus f prime of x naught delta x. So we know that we have to use the value of fx naught and also f prime x naught. So we'll have to find the fx naught. So in this case, fx naught, x naught is actually pi over 5. So we'll have to find the sign of pi over 5. The same goes to f prime of x naught. We'll have to find the cos of pi over 5. So in this case, please just set your calculator into the radian, not degree. So All right, instead of calculating directly, because we need to convert into decimal, so I'll just put these two values into this formula, right? So we'll have something like, all right, so fx naught is given here, so sine of pi over 5 plus f prime of x naught is given here, so cos of pi over 5, and delta x is given here, which is, we have to multiply this 0.01. So please set your calculator into radian. All right, so make sure that you calculate into radian. So sine of, put in the bracket, pi over 5 plus cos of the pi over 5 multiplied by 0.01. All right, so we'll get the final answer as 0.59. Your equation that it asks you to find the final answer into 4 decimal places. So write your answer as 5959 in this case. All right, if you get if you're not sure about your answer is correct or not, so try to press this using a calculator. So sine of bracket pi over 5 plus 0.01. Using a calculator, we'll get 0.595846, something like this. So if we convert it into 4 decimal places, we'll get the same answer here. All right. No, if we use 4 decimal places, we'll get 5958, which is, yes, this is what I mean. All right, we'll get 5959, but here is 5958. So it is somewhere close there, but not exactly the same. All right. So that is what approximation is. Okay. All right, so let's move to number 5. We are already given with fx here. All right, so but the question says that if x changes from 1 to 1.05, meaning to say that this is the x naught, the initial value, x naught from where to where. So this is the new values, which is x, right? Please take note that it changes from x naught to x, all right? So from the question, we're already given with x naught, which is 1, and x is actually 1.05, something like this. So delta x will be given by x minus x naught. So this is actually 1.05 minus 1. You'll get 0.05. So we have the function which is fx. So fx is given by 3 over 2 plus x squared. All right. So for this one, I'll prefer to write in form of this function so that it's easy for me to, what do we call, differentiate. All right. So we know that we'll have to find the f of x naught. So we'll have to substitute the value of 1 into this formula. So we'll get something like 3 over 2 plus 1 squared. We'll get 1. All right. So we'll have to differentiate this. So f prime of x, I'm using this function. So I'll get something like -3, 2 plus x squared to the power of -2, and then I'll differentiate the one in the bracket, we'll get 2x. So I'm writing this function in form of this, which is given by -6x over 2 plus x squared to the power of 2. All right. So now we know that we'll have to use the f prime of x naught. So I'm going to substitute the value of x naught, which is 1, into this formula. We'll get -6 multiplied by 1, the whole thing of 2 plus 1 squared to the power of 2. We'll get -6 over 3 squared. So this is actually, right, -6 over 9. We'll get -2 over 3. So that is for fx naught and also f prime x naught. So now it's easy for us to use the formula. So the formula is, write the formula first. So fx is actually approximate to the fx naught plus the f prime of x naught delta x. So put into the formula, fx naught is actually 1. Okay. So 1 plus the f prime of x naught is actually -2 over 3. And then delta x is actually 0.05. So we can use the calculator to find this value. So 1 plus, all right, we will get 0.9. All right. So this is 3 decimal places, so it should be 0.967. Okay. So if you if you try to substitute the value of x with 1.05 in this case, all right, 3 over 2 plus 1.05, please put in bracket, all right, square, we'll get 0.96696, something like this. So almost the same, all right. So let's look at the last question here. All right, so we are given with this value, with this function. So we know that the value of x is actually here, all right, because this one is not 1.1, so we cannot substitute both of them. So just choose one here. In this case, 1.1, it will be the x. So firstly, decide the fx is actually given by the function 1 plus ln of x, or we can write 1 plus ln of x to the power of 1 over 2. Okay, so that our x is actually this value, which is 1.1. So of course x naught is 1, so that our delta x will be x minus of x naught. So x minus x naught is 1.1 minus 1 will be 0.1. All right, so we have this function, so we know that we have to use the f of x naught, which is f of 1. So substituting the 1 into this value, all right, we'll get 1. All right, so you have to show the calculation. All right, so I'm skipping the part I'm showing the calculation. So now I'm going to differentiate the f of x, so we'll get f prime of x. All right, I'm going to differentiate this function, so I'll have something like 1 over 2 bracket 1 plus of ln x to the power of negative 1 over 2, and then I'm differentiating the 1 inside the bracket, will get 1 over x. So I'll get something like 1 over 2x square root of 1 plus ln x. Okay, so now I'm going to substitute the value of x naught into the function of f prime x. So I'll have something like this one, f prime x naught. All right, so I'm going to substitute the value of x with 0 inside this function. So I'll have something like 2 multiplied by that 1 plus ln 1, which is actually 0. So I'll get 1 over 2. All right, so I'll already have the fx naught, f prime of x naught, and also delta x, which is given by 0.1. And then I'm going to substitute into the formula, where the formula is given by f of x is approximate to the fx naught plus the f prime of x naught delta x. So we'll have something like, all right, fx naught is actually, in this case, we get 1 plus the 1 over 2 multiplied with the 0.1. So I'll have something like 1 plus 1 over 2 multiplied by 0.1. So I'm going to get 1.05. Since the question asks us to write in 2 decimal places, yeah, so it's completely in 2 decimal places, so that's perfect. Right, so if you try to press this using a calculator, so we'll get square root of 1 plus, bracket please, 1 plus ln 1.1, all right? We'll get 1.04657 and so on. So because we are doing the approximation, so we should not get the same, so it's okay to get 1.05 because this is just an approximation of this. All right, so that's basically what differential is. All right, so you have to memorize this formula. All right, so from the formula, all right, so we know that we'll have to find the fx, and then we'll have to find the f prime of x. All right, so other than that, we'll have to substitute the fx naught into this formula and also this formula. So we'll have to find the fx naught and also f prime of x naught. So to do this, we'll have to have the value of x naught, and also delta x, and then we can use the formula. So that's it for differential and approximation. Thank you for watching.